So hello guys, welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. Alright guys, another day of good trading wrapped up. Lot to discuss today. Another day of semiconductor crazy run, and they're still running. Before I start, quick introduction. These are my trade recaps and daily teachings. From the trades I take or the trades I don't take, any guidance in my community, any trade I share on Twitter, or any trade I've shared with you in previous YouTube videos, any ideas. So we try to see where we made money, where we lost money. We always do repeatable setups. We do not trade random. We have a very repeatable process, very repeatable 13 to 15 setups that we trade day in, day out. Either it's a day trade or swing trade or anything. We have a clean risk reward, clear risk reward setups that we trade in my community, which is a educational and training community where I share all these ideas not as an alerts or signals but as my thoughts and guiding the community through various trades. And we lose, we win, some trades work, some don't, but we at end of the day we try to understand and see that how did we execute, what were our strengths, what were our weaknesses, and which trades worked for what reason. Every day before the market open, few hours before, me and my team, we go through all the new sources, upgrades, downgrades, share the plays with the community, and we make what we call as a game plan. Today's game plan you can see on the screen. There were not many lot of news today, but there were some decent plays like Victoria's Secret, Kroger's, BURL. Among those there was VKTX as well, and then there was RIVN as well on the watch list. But we focused on the marketplace as well today. For the marketplace, what we create every day is what we call as our pivots. So those are our daily levels that we create in the morning that we provide to the community so that they can trade on their own. For example, today NVIDIA was a great pivot, SPY was a great pivot trade, QQQIWM. We will talk about that as well, how we were long all day based upon these pivot levels. And the point is the community executes on their own, they learn, and everybody is executing, helping each other. So that's the point. Anyways, we also have something called our day 2, day 3, or day 4 setups, which are basically the plays we based upon support pivot and resistance pivot, which we played a day before or 2 days before, but we keep eyes on them, and we make sure if there's a setup based upon our EMA cloud system, we can trade them long or short. Today CrowdStrike was a good example, PANW was a good example, Target was another one, that was a good example. PLTR was another one which did not work, so we will discuss all that as well. Let's as the introduction is done, I will show you my timestamp guidance. A lot of my 60-70% of my guidance is on voice, so I can't really show you, but I still put a lot of my comments in the alerts tab in the community, so I will try to show you my timestamp guidance, and we can compare it to how the price moved and see how the setups worked. All right, that's the introduction. So let's start with our first play of the day. All right guys, today's video we will start with our swing on Google, or a Google trade, or a Google swing, which was also our our day trade as well as our swing. So we'll discuss kind of both of those. As we as the market improves, gives us opportunities, I like to do those swings which are, I don't really like to do many swings unless the market permits. So I like to do swings that provide us good risk reward, high potential. So that's why I discussed yesterday as well. The reason, I only had I didn't have a big size, but of course this morning I didn't and we traded more, and the day trade as well. But the reasoning behind this swing was yesterday. I can also show you the chart on my Twitter. I tweeted it. The reasoning yesterday was that the weekly was testing 50 EMA. So my risk was 130. My risk was what, $1.30. I was actually planning to add. I was a little late on my ads, but that's fine. So my risk was just $1.30, and then there was a support at 128, and I was ready to scale in, add more. So by the end of the day, when market was closing, I felt like it's a good risk reward, and I should, because Google is almost down 20%, and I added that swing. I shared my ads with everybody. I shared a screenshot of my ads on the swing chart. And this morning when we woke up, we were already up, up, right? And then market was strong. Then it was all about watching the pullbacks. I told everybody that I'm gonna hold my day trades, and of course you can add more for your swing trades. So when Google pulled back and held the clouds, that's where you add it. That's where you add it. And then after that, it was all, you know, we were watching our targets, 134s, 135s, and Google really had, you know, we hit 135. So when we hit 135, so how much were we up on our swing? We were $3 and almost, let's say $3.60, right? And what was our risk? So risk was $1.50. So if our risk was $1.50 and we were up $3.60, so we all risked one and we made two, you know, twice our risk, little more than twice our risk. So that's a good risk reward on our swing, right? So another thing was we were over the clouds, and I was not worried because Google held 10-minute clouds. So I really didn't need to cut my swing, and I had my daily support. And the other thing to note was Google 1 hour turned bullish. So when 1 hour turns bullish, you can add more into your swing. So 1 hour turned bullish. Now Google is flagging. Now my risk is off, right? My risk is off. Even if Google goes back, I already am up, double my risk. I plan to hold it and see how it works out. But a lot of my traders and community, see, everybody's risk reward is different. So I told them you can take them off according to your planning. Just, the winner should not turn loser. That's my plan. Worst cases, I would be break even on it. And the best case scenario is I'll make, 5-6 times my risk. And we'll see how it goes. But for now, it's a big winner. It's a big winner on the day trade. All day was long. A lot of people couldn't add with me yesterday. They were long this morning. They did a nice profit as well. The calls also, if you traded calls on Google, they were actually decent move as well. We will talk about the market, how we were long, but just wanted to discuss Google, the reason behind this swing. Why did I take it? Why did I tell everybody about this swing? So we will discuss all that. Yeah, here you can see my latest screenshot of my latest position by end of the day. So anyways, that was a Google win. You can see the downtrend line, 50 EMA, a lot of those things, and other trades were fine too. I think Microsoft was also good, which we will recap later, but Google was the first one, which was a really good trade for all of us. So next one, we are going to look at yesterday's big winner, CRWD. If you remember, if you watched my video yesterday, I told you that CRWD will be a day two trade once again. So let's go and see what was the plan on CRWD. Excuse me, CRWD was our top #1 play day 2, day 3 setup along with PANW. So CRWD was #1 play on day 2. Our support pivot was 328.50, then 324. Resistance was 335, 334. It never broke over the resistance. Right away it was bearish. Right away it was bearish and heavy. And we discussed on the voice pre-market that if it stays heavy, we will short it. And as soon as I saw the weakness, on CrowdStrike, and everybody was short, and I told them we can short it. And I said there's a room to, the 328 support broke. As soon as this 328 support gave up from yesterday, this one, it was a short, right? And I was a short, and I told everybody that it has room to 324. And then we hit 324s. We hit our 324s. Then I gave the next target 318, 320. And then 320 target came. Then we hit 318 target. Then I told everybody we can even roll into 315 puts, because 315 is our next target. And look at it. What target did we get? We got 315.21. So this was a big huge trade for us. In the morning, a lot of our traders were already done for the day with the CrowdStrike short. I show you, everybody was doing so good on CrowdStrike short. Eddie was short, Prakash was short, Drew was short. Eddie made 130%. and everybody was good because we are playing a repeatable setup. We are playing a setup. We are not randomly taking a play and thinking what will happen. We know it's bearish. We know it's our system is saying it's bearish. We know it's breaking the support, and right in front of you that was almost $10 short. Even if you shorted at 324, you still got like $9 per share short there. So that's what I'm talking about. That is the process. Those are the big winners that we do. So now let's talk about the later in the day trade on CrowdStrike. So CrowdStrike bounced here on a B minus, pushed into the 512s. It failed, but then end of the day it gave a nice flag downtrend line reversal setup. I personally missed it, but many traders got it long, and I saw it over 34.50. even over 34.50 I said you could get some long. You can see here, okay, Kumar was done with CrowdStrike. Midday call, right? So you can see TJ was on top of it. A lot of people were on top of CrowdStrike. This was defined, very defined setup, very easy repeatable setup, and one of my repeatable setups that I teach. And when it was over 34.50, they asked me if I would take position. I said yes, you can risk that and you can take position. And it kind of pushed from 326 to 328. Even if you added it over 34.50, it pushed higher. And I told everyone, if you are in profit, you can swing it. So that was nice, right? So you could short it and then midday repeatable setup. This long is hard. This knee-jerk long is hard, I would say that. And you could short it again from when it rejected 34.50. But this long was very easy setup. Defined. Look at this chart pattern. Look at this pattern. This is a beauty. This is a repeatable long. I would have really alerted my community if I saw it, and we would have made good on it. But I'm proud of a lot of my traders in the community which were already on it for that 512 reversal. Repeatable setup, repeatable system, beautiful. So the thing on Snow was, again, what was the plan on Snow? Let's look at the plan on Snow. Snow was again our day 2 setup, right? What was the support pivot? 167 and resistance 168.50. And what happened? Right away it breaks the 167.50, and right away it breaks the cloud. And these are, guys, opening trades. You have to be fast on them. These are the opening 10 a.m. trades. And I told everybody, do not long it. First 10 minutes I told everybody there's no business longing it. And then it faded from 167.50 all the way to 163.50. Another day, another short. But then what happened? Then Snow came the reversal on the 512. And that's when, if you didn't take 512, but then it hit 34.50. And that's when I told everyone that yes, you can take that 34.50 reversal. And I tweeted about it that it's the first day in many days that Snow actually became bullish on 10 minutes. So first time in 5 days. So let's look at that. So you can see that in our community people were long it. So we trade, we don't have a fixed bias. When our system turns bullish, we turns bullish. We do not say bearish all day. That's not what we do in our community. So that's not what we do. So let me show you quickly. So we can clearly see here that the first time it turned 10 minute under, 10 minute under, 10 minute under, 10 minute under, and today it turned over 10 minutes for first time. So that means it's turning bullish. And you could long it at 512 and you could long it at 34.50. Even when I mentioned at 34.50, when this was breaking out, I mentioned it, and then it went on from 167 to 169. Good midday trade there. $3 you could have easily made on that midday curve. And then I told everyone that if you are in money, you can swing Snow because 10 minute is bullish. Now 1 hour is still not bullish, but that's fine. You can still have a small position, and we'll see what happens tomorrow, because daily is trying to find a support at 167 as well. You can see 2 times the same level. One, yesterday lows 163. It has found a support. So that was the snow, guys. Just wanted to talk about the morning dips on the snow and then reversal trade middle of the day. All right, next one we're going to look at is CIEN scene. So let's look at CIEN scene. Let's look at what was our plan on CIEN. So let's go there. Let's go find our plan. So plan on CIEN was bearish to short the pops, breaks 54, room to 50, right? So that was our plan. So let's see how it panned out. Let's look at it. So most of it, most of the meat was at open. So if I go at open, let's look at CIEN, what happened, right? Right at open, it breaks under 54, right? That was the plan. Right at open, it breaks on 54, and that's when I say short it, and it went from 54, 53, 52, hit 51, 20, and right back the buyers swiped it back at 52. So the first 3 minutes, lot of volume. There was a quick opening trade. You could have even you go easy like $2 were easy, the short, right? Risking right here 20, 30, 40 cents was easy, and that's when you cover most, right? So I covered it. I shorted some and I covered some here, but then it came back. Now when it was coming back, of course, for your short, if you see in my older videos, I want to see lower lows, lower highs. I don't really like it coming right back over my entry. So that is the problem. So when it went right back over 54 over my entry, so I had to cut it because I don't want to turn a winning trade into the loser. So it hit short. I covered at that 3-minute drop. And because I clearly told the plan, right? My plan was to short it 54, you can see here. And then I didn't want to, if it went over 55, then it would have turned green. I would have lost so much money. So that's why I said I'm out of the short, right? So because when it was doing this push, I was out, right? It faded almost $2 from my entry and came back 30, 40 cents over my entry. So I had to reduce my risk. So I got out. Now, was it turning bullish? It never really turned bullish. I told everyone that it's still under 512. Keep eyes to short it again. And look what happened. 1 candle, 2 candle, 3 candle. Never got up. So that was my price alert. You see this? This was one where I would have thought of going long, or if I was short, that was my final risk. And after that, it faded from 54 back to 53. And then it consolidated all day. And finally it faked out, broke down again, and then it went again. I mean, the plan was there. Whatever the plan was there, it worked out, but the price action was too choppy up and down, so we could not execute. Luckily, didn't lose money on it, was able to manage it well, unless you were little late. So that's why I'm always tell everyone, you have to be with at timing. If it's gone, it's gone. You don't chase it, right? Because by the time I share an idea and it's going down, it gets a little tricky. So, and of course, whoever shorted here, I think few people shorted here, they might have done much better than me. Michael was short. It went down. The people were short, but it never kind of worked out. So that was CIEN. So there was a game plan, but it was a scratch. Let's call it a scratch. Let's look at NVO. So what was NVO? Let's go to our morning plan first. Let's look at our morning plan. The morning plan on NVO was, they had, of course, these NVO, Lily, they are all obesity names. They are just like obesity and so NVO is basically, artificial intelligence of biotechs, right? So obesity. So that's why there was news that the oral drug is good in obesity. I don't know the details, but the point is it was, the drug is effective. Good news. We have been trading NVO since $100. So support was 130, guys. Resistance was 135. Risk is 130. Long as it holds that, right? So what happened? NVO pushed right away. Right away it pushed. So it was a long, and it broke that 135. That's where you long. You risk low of the opening candle, opening price, or 512 EMAs. You can risk either of these levels on that, right? 135 breaks out. Now when 135 breaks out and you stay long, and it pushed nicely, right? So it pushed nicely over 135. It pushed into 10 a.m. It pushed into 136.40. So there's always a 10 a.m. pullback, and then it flagged down, and you see I had a price alert here, pulled back, flag break, and then the calls came in. 139 calls came in. I told everybody that 139 calls are coming in at 10:09 a.m. Pulled back, flagged, pushed again, and this time it pushed to 138. The calls that were coming on flow, they almost got in money. So it never gave you signal to get out, right? It held this, and then finally you get out when it breaks 512. I told everybody cut the last piece. It's breaking 512, and that was the right decision, if you see, because it pulled back to 135.50s. So the trade was 135 breakout. You risk $1.50. Your initial trade, you make $1.50, pulls back on the flag, you can add again, then you make $3-4 more. So good risk reward trade. So let's look at this PLTR. So PLTR was the same thing as yesterday. Failed breakout once again. Day 2 setup. It was pulling back to 34.50. Tried to break out, and I thought, we were gonna get a breakout again. Just a starter position. Failed breakouts are part of the game. And then it failed right away, and I was like, get done with it. And after that, all day it was chopping. I told everybody, don't touch it, it's not worth it, going sideways, no trend, just leave it, right? The same thing PLTR did yesterday, it did today. Frankly, I was not really expecting that to fail another breakout, but it is what it is. So that was a loser of the day, as long as it's not a big loss, right? I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Our loser is what, right? If we are on shares, 30-40 cents loser, that's fine. When our winners like CrowdStrike are going $15-14, right? So that is the point. Now, if you're a small account, I see a lot of problem. You can't like oversize. If you're a very small account, you should probably lose 30, 40, 50, $100 on one contract or two contracts here. You can't lose half of your account on such trades. Then you are doing something wrong. Remember that. All right, next one we're going to talk about is Kroger. So let's see what was the pre-market plan on Kroger. So our plan on pre-market on Kroger was bullish to neutral, watch the cloud pullbacks. The support I gave everybody was 51.40. So you can use that support of 51.40 and to risk of the cloud pullbacks. So look where it pulled back. It pulled back to 51.70. Right? So at that time you can add to the pullbacks. It will happen. These kind of setups will happen. They will pull back fast and swipe right back up. So you can add them because you know that 1540 is your support, and you can start scaling in. And then as soon as it becomes bullish, then it goes over the opening price. So it opened here. It goes over the opening price. That's when you add more, or you can add over this pre-market level. So let's see what was the resistance pivot that I gave everyone on Kroger. So the resistance pivot I gave was 53.51. So let's see. No, let me double check it. 53.51. So 53.51, and it breaks out of 53.51. It's a long, and then that's it. You long it, right? You added the breakout, and you trade it all day. And all day, by end of the day, it went to 55.59, right? So I was not focused on this one at the open, so I couldn't update the traders. But if you traded, follow the game plan, this was a flawless winner, just with the system over the clouds. That's how our losers stay small, because we follow the system. BURL was another choppy loser in the community today. I mean, let's go back and look at the BURL plan. What was the BURL plan? The plan on BURL was, bullish bias to long versus the cloud. So bullish bias to long versus the cloud. The support was 214, 212. Resistance was 220. So what did BURL do? BURL pushed up right out the open. It pushed up, And we were watching the pullbacks. We had the pullbacks to 19, pushes to 224, fails to break out, pulls back. And when it pulled back here, I said, just exit the longs. It's not going to work, right? Because it's bouncing from 220, 224. I mean, it's okay if you're just scalping 150 cents, $1, but it's a very spready stock. It's illiquid stock, and especially it's not a stock to trade for small accounts. Definitely not for small accounts. And then it bounced. I left it alone. I said, I'm leaving it alone. I did say that if it breaks 512, you can short it, but I left it alone. And it breaks 512, and then it faded to 34.50. As I said, did mention and failed 512 and faded. Yes, it did give another setup end of the day. That was a 34.50 reversal setup that I teach in my webinars if you took it. But yeah, in the morning was a loser trade. So let's talk about NVIDIA. Right, so NVIDIA, the plan today was simple. We can go back and just look at our pre-market plan. NVIDIA 900 was key, 906 was another level, 897 was a support. So we have our levels clear, right? So our levels were clear level 897, right? So this was the support from yesterday. You see that, you see the support, right? 897 right here, and that's where it bounced. Exactly, that's where NVIDIA bounced, and that's where NVIDIA bounces, and then it started to push over the cloud. It becomes bullish. I tell everybody on the voice, it's bullish. It's over 900, it's bullish. Long it, if it's over 900, it's bullish. I told everyone we are flagging on NVIDIA. We are flagging here, right here on NVIDIA. I told everybody at 10 a.m. and SPY QQQ broke the flag. At the same time, NVIDIA broke the flag. At this time it was 10:20 right here, and then call flow started coming in. We were at 9:10, 9:20 call flow started coming in, 9:15 call flow started coming in, and that was the conviction. I told everybody I'm holding 920s, and after that we pushed into 920s. 920s hit to profit at a 50%, then they hit 60% for me. This was my contract on NVIDIA. I showed everybody what I was trading. So this was my contract, was hit 18%, then it hit 60%, and then I take profits. And and you could swing NVIDIA. It was closing over the clouds, so there's no problem with AVGO. And now NVIDIA is sold at 950. That's gonna try for 1,000 tomorrow. But this was a good trade. Clear 900 psychological level, option flow to help us, breakout, SPY QQQ strong, flag breaking out. So everything was for NVIDIA long. That's how you do high probability long. Watch how these two levels worked on NVIDIA. These two levels, level was 897, that's where it bounced. Level was 900, that's where it changed pivot. Then there was a flag breakout, that's where it pushed with the market, and you stay long and you trade calls. Community had better entry than me. They did much better from 900, 906. So many people in the community were long NVIDIA all day. Defined risk, everybody doing really good. You can see everybody was in NVIDIA, everybody was on NVIDIA. So let's look at now PANW. So what was our PANW today? So PANW was, let's go back and see. PANW was our day 2 setup, or day 3. Our resistance was 282, 277, 275 was the support, and PANW turned bullish today over the pivots. This was one pivot and this is over the clouds. So it turned bullish and we were waiting for that. And that's when I told everybody on voice, you can risk this 280s or under the clouds on PANW, and you can get more on the PANW trade, right? And then I gave 2 targets to everyone on PANW. My first target, so you can see there, 284, 70s, okay, that came later. So let's see. So PANW, the 2 targets I gave was 286, 270, 287, 50. So you can see these price alerts were going on. when PNW was breaking the key level. So I had this price alert at 2186. This is a wrong here, but this was 281.86 price alert that was going. And that's when I said that you can watch the pullbacks, risk the clouds, you can risk $2, $2.50. And after that, 286 was the first target, 286 we met, 287.50 was the second target, and by 12:44 we met the second target, right? And all the targets met. And you have to see that why were we long PNW today? Yesterday we were short because it was under the cloud. Today we were long because it's over the cloud. It's that system. That's simple. We are just trading our system, doing nothing. And so PNW was a nice long winner. I am swinging some because the reason I'm swinging is because the position is green. You know, I have enough buffer. Even if it pulls back, $4 or $5, it's gonna be fine. You know, I don't mind it, but we'll see. But it was a good trade today, so it will be interesting to see what it does tomorrow. 1 hour is still bearish, by the way. It's not, hasn't turned bullish yet fully, but you know, just to know. And also I think there's a nice downtrend line setting up on the 1 hour. So other one which was good in community was Meta, and the reason was, the first thing that I mentioned on the voice that was strong today was Meta, because this is what I do when I'm on voice. I try to go through all the big 7 and see which one is showing me strength. So I told my community that Meta is really strong. Resistance pivot 500, 503. What 503 was resistance. What made Meta a really good trade was the 500 psychological level. So the point behind Meta was, it was defined risk. You put your stops at 500, forget it, just take long. If it breaks 500, get out. If it falls 500, you stay long. And all day Meta was nothing but long. And I missed the morning ads, but my traders were in it. They were talking about it. And then I told them that Meta, their targets 515 and 520. Those were the two targets I gave them. And you know, and we hit that, right? See, Meta hit 100% ATR, 144% ATR, and it was a nice breakout as well on the 1 hour. Always check what the chart is doing, because when it's breaking out on 1 hour key level, so that is the breakout. That's the first thing you need to check. So Meta was a decent trade in the community. Let's look at RIVN. So RIVN was on our watch list today, but it was not doing much. Let's go back and look at the plan. What was the plan on RIVN? The plan on RIVN was, there was upgrade by Jeffries, the bias was neutral, resistance pivot was 11,670, and support pivot was 1130. You know, I didn't do much at the morning, even though you could have shorted with 1170 and faded it back to 11. You know, in the B minus short became a B plus short, filled the gap, then bounced. But then our news bot, which is so fast, it tweeted about RIVN news. And then everybody in the room jumped on that news, right? Very bullish news. And then even if you missed the news, right? So I'm just trying to find out, it's hanging. So even if you missed that news on RIVN, if you see, we will find the news on RIVN here. Yeah. So you can see that Texas, our news, TX News gave us RIVN news, announces new crossover, and that was around this time, 123, when the news came out, and right away it ripped. If you got the news, was a bullish news, you got a nice push to 1270. And then when it pulled back, that's when Tape mentioned that we watch the 512 pullbacks. And also I said we need to add it to our swing watch. Pulled back, always watch the 512 pullbacks, pulled back to the 512 EMAs, held that 1170. Look at that, 1170 support for now, just scalp. That's what I told everybody at 2 p.m. I told them just scalp 1170 support, and from that 1170 support went on to, you know, 1270. The calls kind of went 60-70% if you were trading 12 calls. You know, a lot of guidance in the community. Tape was talking about it, and then RBC upgrade comes to 15. That's what I post here. And I told everybody I'm still scalping RIVN, and there's a gap on daily. And you know, if you're swinging RIVN, I already talked about, you know, how it's a good swing watch because it's closing higher, and RIVN is already at $13 after hours. So you see how we use the community for our news, the plays, and managing the risk, waiting for pullbacks, scalping the longs, deciding the swings. It's just beautiful, so that's what it was doing. Yeah, RIVN right here we are setting up in the gap. So very nice one set up today on RIVN. We'll be on watch tomorrow as well. All right, let's look at now SPY, QQQ, SPX trades. So SPY all day my guidance was long. I told everybody that today it's bullish, right? If I want to show you about SPY QQ, so whole day SPY guidance was SPY flag breakout. I told about this flag breakout to everyone, bullish. It's over, and our trend levels are telling us that it's getting out of the chop range, pre-market highs, breakout, holding the dips. And I told everyone that hold the calls. I told everyone you can trade QQQ calls, SPY calls, flag breakout working nicely. Next leg up can sell 1/3. And as we kept going, I said sell little more, move the stops, break even. I talked about that every dip being, bought on SPY. I think we talked about in SPX that every dip is being bought out because when trend is so strong, every dip gets bought out. So there was no reason to cut your long calls the whole day. Flag breakout long, and you can see my timestamp guidance here. And if that's not enough, you can go at resistance pivots, 512.45s, 442s on QQ, right? Both the resistance pivots break. The flag was, that's it. Once it breaks the flag, that's it. It's a trend day. You don't even think twice about it. Yes, we were a little cautious when Powell was speaking, but he spoke something well, and then market just ripped. So trade as far as long as market is strong, guys. We trade it strong. We do not think twice. We stick with it, right? So that was the SPY QQQ guidance. It helped us trade NVIDIA as well. It helps us trade our Google long as well, with Meta long as well. So the overall bullish market helped with everything. So that was it, guys. A little long video today, but had to cover a lot of things. Tomorrow will be fun, lot of Friday, lot of plays. I'll see you tomorrow. Join my community. Do not come for alerts or signals. Come for guidance and community. Bye-bye.